Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
Welcome to Nevada Newsmakers. On the broadcast today, Assemblywoman Angie Taylor joins us. She's running for state senate and here for the whole show on an all-new Nevada Newsmakers.
Like a traditional handmade basket, retail is woven into the fabric of life in Nevada. From big box to mom and pop, retail supports our communities in countless ways. Jobs for the disabled, team uniforms for kids, help for the elderly, and so much more. Retail employs over 1 in 10 workers. Retail supports Nevada, and we support retail.
RANNV.org.
Pro Group Management is the place where companies can find workers' comp solutions that are designed to meet their specific business requirements. As regulations evolve, Pro Group takes a proactive approach to clear the path to make sure your business stays ahead of the curve. Knowing your workers' comp program is optimized, you can focus on other important matters related to your growing business. Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
Safety is the #1 priority for the trucking industry. Over $7 billion a year is spent on technology like this electronic eye that will apply the brakes automatically. But the most important factor for safety is the truck driver. These hardworking men and women who safely move over 70% of our nation's freight and 94% of Nevada's. We thank you because trucks move America forward.
What do you count on? You count on your power every day. At NV Energy, we've always powered what's important to you, but we're not looking at the past. We're focused on the future. While our standards are high, our rates will remain low. And our commitment to renewables isn't just meeting standards, but leading the way. Because you can count on more than just your power. You can count on the company who brings it to you. That's our promise. You can count on it.
This is Nevada Newsmakers with host Sam Shad, a no-holds-barred political forum. Now, from the Nevada Newsmakers broadcast headquarters, here is Sam Shad.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we're always delighted to welcome back to the program Assemblywoman Angie Taylor. She was a candidate for Nevada State Senate, Senate District 15. Pleasure to have you back on the program.
Great to be here, Sam. Always good to see you.
Thank you. All right, so let's start out with education. Last week, with your help, Selena LaRue Hatch was here. She's running for re-election in Assembly District 25. And I was talking to her about, the amount of money that went into education the last time around. Mm-hmm. And she's a teacher, and she pointed out that that money that came in, well over $2 billion, will take time to go through the system. So demands for accountability are a little early at this point. But the education unions are already saying, we need more, we need more, we need more. And my question to you is, how much more and where should it go? And you're somebody who is an expert on education, being the former president of the Washoe County School Board.
I would say yes and yes. Absolutely, we're still below the national average in our per pupil funding. Even with that record-setting historical infusion that we did, $2 billion over the biennium, and then another $250 million to pay teachers more, and bus drivers and nutritionists, everyone special, everyone, which certainly well-deserved, long overdue, and much needed. So I'm going to certainly say I continue to support it, and I'm proud of my help to get that passed. And certainly money certainly does need, you change programming, you do some other things differently. You need to hire people. That does take some time, but I do think that as we talk about, hey, are we there yet? Are we where? We aren't at the national average, so we can't say, whoa, we're there. At the same time, it is important to begin to show, hey, this is the kind of impact we're going to be having. Is it overnight? No, but I do think that from putting on that was my school board hat, right? Putting on my legislator hat, I do think it's fair to say, let's show what's happening. Let's show these things that we have whether it's our ratios in our classrooms, more counselors, more better able to impact mental health, better able to help students get more support that they need, so we're increasing our numbers of who's performing at grade level. Even if it's a matter of we can't see the net result yet, but man, we can see the steps that are being taken to get that result. I think that's fair to say. You know, it's really, I recognize, because of the educator in me, that we got to be at the national average, for Pete's sake, so we can at least say, well, these kids and these teachers are having a chance. But I also recognize that we have to say, are we doing the right things with the money that we're giving, right? To make sure, because we have a great opportunity to put all these resources in. Wonderful. This is a great time to say, hey, let's make sure that we're doing the right things, that we're getting rid of those things that don't work. Sometimes institutions, it's hard to get rid of things because we've still been, and that isn't for schools, that's for everybody, right? But I think we need to show, from an educator standpoint, from a school district standpoint, from a superintendent and school board standpoint, I think we need to show, hey, this is what we're doing with the money, this is why, and this is the direction we expect it to take, and this is how we're monitoring that. This is how we're measuring that along the way, so that we get a year in this, saying, oh, this isn't working, let's make a shift. We have these benchmarks in place and these goals in place. I think we can show that. I really do.
Is that the businesswoman in you coming out?
Part of it, yeah. I'm a small business owner, and I speak with that hat too. It's also the legislator we have to make sure that we're doing the right things for our kids and for our teachers. And we can only know that if we're looking, if we're measuring, if we're paying attention, and if we're willing to say, maybe we need to do that differently.
Classroom size is another thing that Selena brought up.
It's huge.
That seems to be a huge mountain to climb over.
It's a huge mountain.
You can't have 35 to 40 kids with one teacher.
No, absolutely. To me, if it's one thing, I mean, there were really two big things when I ran my campaign to be elected to the Assembly in terms of improving education, paying teachers more, and reducing class sizes. We've done a lot with this piece. Right, at least for, are we done forever? No, absolutely, we shouldn't be, right? But we made some big steps here, fantastic. Now, I think the next step is, how do we reduce class sizes? Some of that $2 billion should be used in that regard. For me, now, here's the challenge in that, right? In Washoe, we are blessed to have WC1. Thank you, voters.
Explain for the folks in Southern Nevada what that is.
Okay, with WC1 is what we know is that funding education is a state responsibility, not a federal responsibility. So every state has whatever formulas and so on that they use to pay so much money per student for education. Most states don't have anything built in to build capital, to build school buildings, to repair school buildings. Schools in our state are an average, in our county I should say, are an average over 50 years old. That needs some renovation. You may be like O'Brien, we got to tear that thing down and build a whole new one in the back and so on. That takes a lot of money. And so what our voters did, thank you in large part to the late Senator Debbie Smith, used her political capital to really make this happen, said, you know what, we want to do better for our schools, for our kids, for our teachers, and passed a bond issue which increased our sales tax. Now we're at 8.375%, and the revenue from that goes strictly, it is restricted, can only be used for school buildings, not salaries, not books, not anything. School buildings. And so that allows us to build as we grow, we're growing like crazy in the North Valleys, for an example. As we grow, it allows us to say, hey, do we need another school there? Do we need an elementary school there? It allows us to say, hey, some of these schools has been around for a while. Those that inside the McCarran Loop, right? Do we need to upgrade that a little bit? Can we do better? Can we make sure we have the technology? It allows us to do that because we have the funding to do that, to build a new Hug High School because that really needed to be redone, and now build a great new career and technical academy there because we need more CTE. It allows us to do that, and thank you to the voters. We're the only county in the state that has a built-in way to increase our classes, our buildings, and renovate like we need to. So as we talk about class sizes for the state, there are two challenges. One is we have to have enough teachers. Have to have enough teachers. Paying teachers more will help us with that. And then we have to have a place to put them. If you're in a rural community somewhere, you have one school, right? Where do we put them? And so that doesn't mean we don't reduce class sizes. That means we have to look at it from that standpoint as well. Because one of the things that the single most important thing that contributes to a student's academic success happens in the classroom. And so the more that we can have those ratios that we know are best practices, the better it is for that teacher and the better it is for that student. And so that's the work that needs to be done. All of us need more teachers. And that's the first step that needs to help get us there. And then for all the other counties, they'll have the challenge of how do we have more classrooms? How do we make more room? If you're in Clark, you have over 300,000 students. That's a big undertaking. So those communities will need to figure that out. We figured it out in Washoe, thank God. They'll need to figure that out too. But that is, to me, the next bastion, if you will, is addressing that. I would agree with the Assemblywoman.
As you look as a legislator at what's going on in the Clark County School District with now they're hiring another superintendent, and whatever happened, and we don't know what happened, with the superintendent that looked really good and promising, and she's now gone.
Dr. Insfield.
Is this just total dysfunction in Southern Nevada and semi-dysfunction in Northern Nevada?
You know, it's a really, one of the toughest jobs, in my opinion, in our country right now is school superintendent. I mean, it really began in COVID, and really a big push, and really it's some of the extreme efforts sometimes that really put a lot of intimidation and fear, and so just as a whole, right? And we've had some of that here in Washoe, right? We know that, I know that firsthand, right, on school boards and on superintendents. So the average length of time that a superintendent will serve is less than 3 years nationally.
Which is an impossible time to get anything done.
Absolutely, we both know that. We both know that. It's a very difficult job.
So does that say that we should be looking to promote from within so that somebody at least has, you know, a running room to get started, that they at least know the players, that they know the district?
I always think this about internal candidates. We've had some here, we've had some good ones here, right? I think you have to make sure that the local people who've been in this district, right, and so on, have an absolute great opportunity to have the job. I don't think you close the door, because you look at someone, as we said, like a Dr. Infield, who came in and still did some really good things in the district, who came from the outside. So you can benefit either way, but I think to close the door internally is the absolute worst thing anybody can do, because you do have people who've shown a commitment, right? They know the district, but then you can also say sometimes you need new ideas that can also come in. You have to balance that. I don't think it speaks more towards one or the other. I think it says it really speaks to making sure that local candidate is going to get a really good, fair look. You're looking at things, looking for things a little bit differently. It depends upon your situation, right? But absolutely, we never want to close the door to a local person. I think what as we talk about our districts as a whole, the two largest districts in the state, the role of the superintendent is critically important. 70% of the state's population lives in Clark, right? As we know, they have a monster of a district, 300,000+ students.
Fifth largest in the nation. Fifth
largest district in the country. We're large here too in Washoe, right? We're in the top 50s, 56th, 59th largest district in the country. I was talking at a door with someone about this on yesterday. That creates its own challenges, and so I think it really speaks to finding the right leader that can balance all of that at the same time, because it's a I can't even imagine. I know how challenging it is in Washoe. I can't imagine what it's like in Clark. But because it's Clark, and because there's so many of our students, so many of our families, so many of our educators that are there, the whole state needs Clark County to hire a great superintendent. All of us need that. And so I'm rooting for them as well as rooting for us.
I'm going to let us sit on that thought for a moment while we take a break, and we'll be right back with Angie Taylor after this timeout.
The Nevada Builders Alliance has been protecting the interests of the construction industry for over 50 years. Our programs save members thousands of dollars every year and allow them to provide much-needed benefits to their employees. Our industry also allows Nevada to grow. If you're thinking about a career in the construction industry, reach out. And if you haven't thought of a career in construction, what are you waiting for? We are the Nevada Builders Alliance.
Story County is leading Nevada. Home of the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, Google, Tesla, Panasonic, and other world-leading companies. Story County provides thousands of tech, advanced manufacturing, and logistics careers for Nevadans. We're diversifying and driving Nevada's economy and generating millions in tax revenue and billions in economic activity across northern Nevada. Story County is leading Nevada's future.
Welcome to the Winnemucca Big R.
Hi, I'm John Walker. Welcome to Big R Lovelock. Hi, I'm Rich Martin. Welcome to Fallon Big R.
My name is Braden. Welcome to Big R Fernley.
Hi, I'm Kelly. Welcome to Big R Sparks.
Seven at 7 is a newscast built for your smartphone. It's a 7-minute newscast available every weekday at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. at lvrj.com. We don't waste your time, and we give you the day's top stories.
We at the RJ have noticed some similarities between us and a certain BTS character, RJ.
Plus the latest in Las Vegas business, weather, health, and entertainment news. 7 at 7 streaming now on your smartphone.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with Assemblywoman Angie Taylor. She is candidate for Nevada State Senate District 15, currently an Assemblywoman. Yeah. What do you think of the polling numbers? And I know it's very early, and these are public polling numbers that aren't nearly as solid as the private polling numbers, but how close the numbers are in the presidential election here in Nevada?
Honestly, I'm baffled by them. I mean, I certainly recognize it's clear that there are few people who seem to be in love with either, you know, so to speak. And really, in an ideal way, it's like maybe there's time for, you know, some youth or some so on and so forth. But one of the hardest problems I have is I'm more moderate, right? You know that. But the challenge I have is in the former president and all of the indictments and the charges and so on. It's hard for me to imagine someone like that leading our country. That's challenging for me.
And yet, we're seeing in these poll numbers that Hispanic Americans and African Americans are moving closer towards the former President Trump.
People are voting their pocketbooks as long as prices are high. Right? I mean, if you think about it, when that's one of the things I'm hearing when I'm at the door, right? And it's interesting because it depends upon what part of town I'm in, right? The district that I represent, as well as the district, Assembly District 27, as well as Senate District 15, that I like to represent, right? Very diverse, very diverse. And so depending upon where you're, when I'm in a part of my district that has a pretty probably lower average income level, the prices, you know, inflation, and even though economically on paper we look pretty strong, but if you go to the grocery store and you know you're spending more than you used to, that's going to get your attention. So I think that's a big part of it. It's hard to think about the future when you're just trying to get through the day.
You know, it was interesting. The other day, I was shopping for my favorite chocolate, and I realized that it was almost 40% higher than it was 2 years ago. 40%.
Wow.
That's a lot of money.
That's a lot.
And certainly something that can be put aside. I mean, I don't want anybody crying for me because I can't afford the chocolate. But those numbers are being repeated throughout.
And that's real. That's the day-to-day. That's the day-to-day what I see as a citizen. You think about what you see every day. It's hard to think about what's down the line and what's something that seems to be a little bit further away from you. Right? And so you start saying, hey, I have to deal with this, regardless of all the other things that of like. As we go through COVID, as we went through COVID, and the stimulus checks went out for those who got them and so on and so forth, at some point, it was going to have to come back around.
Right.
And it's coming back around.
Well, what we're seeing from my retailer friends is that they had 2 boom years where the numbers went up for them tremendously. And now things are flat. But we also know that people are using their credit cards more. Yes. And the credit card interest rates are 29, 30%, which is insane.
They used to be there before, and now they're back.
Right, but, you know, you and I both remember when a regular credit card was 12%.
Yes.
And you could borrow money and pay it back, and you weren't committed to a lifetime of debt.
47 years to pay off your balance.
Right. Now that doesn't exist. I mean, I haven't seen a 12% credit card rate offered anyway.
Well, and I would tell you this, one of the things that's interesting is as things continue to go up, we continue to spend money. And at one point, I think we have to have that conversation in our own homes as well, right? Gosh, maybe I got to pull back on some of the spending, and that would probably take some of the pressure off. as well. So part of it, I think, is also connected to COVID, and we came out of COVID spending like crazy because we wanted to do the things that we couldn't do,
right.
and so on. And some of us were at home during COVID without pay, and some were at home during COVID with pay. Right, and then there's nothing to spend my money on, so I'm going to get online and spend my money. And then as we get out of that, we didn't get back to that same, hey, let me watch my debt. So those habits continued, even though there's some impact over here. And you put those two things together, you feel a really big squeeze.
To say the least. Let's take another break. We'll be back with Angie Taylor after this time out.
For 50 years, Nevada Heating has been keeping people comfortable in their homes. At Nevada Heating, call the Do It Right guys and get the air conditioning back on today. That's the Nevada Heating way. Why sweat for days on end when Nevada Heating can get your air conditioning fixed today? Call us today and we'll fix it today at 323-5585 or schedule us on our website at nevadaheating.com.
Southwest Specialties has been making the homes and businesses of Nevada beautiful for more than 20 years. Their experienced designers and craftsmen create the walkways, backyards, water features, and a variety of outdoor cooking areas that add curb appeal and value to your investment. Call today or visit them at their website and see how they can make your outdoor spaces special. Southwest Specialties, creative, distinctive, beautiful. As you know, Reno is booming. Toll's Development Company is helping it grow with insightful design and development, building community with every project, adding beauty, adding excitement, emphasizing our shared humanity. Reno is becoming bigger. Toll's Development is helping it become better, more livable, more enjoyable. To learn more, go to tollsdevelopment.com. tollsdevelopment.com.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with Assemblywoman Angie Taylor, who is a candidate for Nevada State Senate District 15. The housing situation, as we see across the state, but particularly here in Washoe County as far as your legislative districts are concerned. Doesn't this all really depend on Nevada getting these lands bills passed? Because that way there'll be more land available, the cost of land will go down, hopefully the cost of the houses will go down. Is that where you see it?
Well, I think there's certainly a role for those land bills to play. My understanding is Senator Rosen's bill is beginning to get more traction. And in it, I think as we look at lands, we want to be mindful, and I think that's been happening with the tribal lands and certainly open spaces. It was balancing those. Those are considerations that have to be a part of it. But I think obviously if we have more land available, we can do more with it. And so I think that's going to have to be a part of the solution. I think we also have to continue to do some of the creative things we did in the legislature, making it easier, for some of the public-private partnerships, so that builders incentivize builders more to build some low cost, right, some more affordable housing. Because as a business person, why would I do that if I'm going to make less money? Well, let's help them get there. For that, we passed 8 bills having to do with housing to protect tenants, as well as to make it easy for that to happen. All of them didn't get a signature. I have to tell you that 5 of them were vetoed. But so I think there is a role to play. And then I think also at our level, doing what we can at the state level, as well as what they can do at the county level and at the city level. It's going to take all of that. But the lands bill, circle back to your question, will make a big difference, because if more is available, just supply and demand, it will help a bunch.
Do you think, because some people are saying this, that with the 75 vetoes from the last session, that part of that was leadership, of which you were not a part, right. Just testing the governor, a new governor here?
Oh, geez. I wasn't in that room as a freshman, so that I don't know. I do know with some of the vetoes, some were bipartisan. Some had bipartisan support. So it wasn't just over 80% of what passes in Carson City is bipartisan. Most people don't know that.
Correct.
Right? You do, but most. So some of it wasn't.
By the way, same in Congress.
Okay, yeah. See, I don't pay attention to that at that level. So same thing. So what we see is the things that are contentious, right, back and forth. So some of the vetoes had bipartisan support, and so it's I don't know that to be the case. Maybe it has something to do with it, but it couldn't have been all of it.
Do you think that there's going to be an effort from your conversations with your fellow legislators, that there's going to be more of an effort to work with the governor going into the next session to get things accomplished, and not for there to be 75 vetoes at the end of it?
You know, I think the fact that there were a record number of vetoes gives everybody pause, because at the end of the day, people send us to Carson City to get things done. I think part of what we had we also had a new governor, right? And then you have a new governor that's trying to figure it out, right? How do you do this thing when you have a divided government? You have to learn that. We had a governor, right, who was a sheriff, and then you lead differently as a sheriff, because you can say, this is what I want, and it gets done, versus when you're this leader of a state with a divided government. So what I'm hoping is that everyone learned from that session, right? Or whatever it is that we need to learn, what is it going to take to get things done for the people in the state? I mean, I'm excited about having the honor to serve. Looking forward to being able to go back, and hopefully that will happen, to be a part of how do we get more stuff across the finish line. It was a good session. It was a really good session. I'm really proud to have been a part of it, but we still have some opportunities on the table.
And that's where we have to leave it. Angie Taylor, always a pleasure to have you on the program.
Thank you, Sam. Good to be here.
Thank you. And we'll be right back.
Turn your clunker into a caddy during the Cadillac and Cash giveaways at Tamarack Casino. Weekly cash drawings including $5,000 cash and one top prize of $10,000. Win the grand prize of a Cadillac CT4 or $40,000 in cash. Your good times are at Tamarack Casino.
Imagine a magical garden that feeds Carson City's hungry and homeless, teaches our high school students agriculture, creates hanging floral displays to beautify downtown, and yet charges nothing. It's not magic. It's the Greenhouse Project. It's real, it's growing, and it needs your help. Go online to carsоncitygreenhouse.org so together we can grow it forward.
Everyone is talking about opioids, but they're not the only drugs that can be harmful if taken in large quantities or not as prescribed. You also need to be aware of side effects from anxiety drugs, muscle relaxants, sleep aids, and stimulants. Mixing prescription drugs with other drugs or alcohol can be dangerous. If you take an Ambien with a glass of wine, it may be enough to stop you from breathing. Prescribed drugs can be just as dangerous as illegal drugs. Take medications only as directed.
Thanks for watching Nevada Newsmakers. You can catch us online 24 hours a day at nevadanewsmakers.com, or you can download the podcast wherever you like to get your podcast. We'll see you on the next broadcast.